Hey everybody, it's Taylor with Boydston Grove, and today we're going to take this pile of scrap wood and throw it in that big fire over there.
Yeah, right.
Just kidding, we're going to make a workbench. Let's get into it. My neighbor asked me to build him a workbench that he could wheel in and out of his garage and on his patio to work on random projects. So I decided to take this as a challenge to see what I could come up with only found material and what I already had in the shop.
Challenge accepted.
I started by picking up a pile of pallets and pieces of 2x4s that were being thrown away. I quickly realized that disassembling the pallets without breaking the slats and removing all the nails was going to make this project take longer than expected. Many of the slats didn't make it, but fortunately I was able to salvage enough thicker material to start the top and the frame of the workbench. I used the table saw to square off the edges of all the boards so they would look a little less like a bunch of 2x4s just screwed together. I screwed 2 boards together in an L shape for each of the 4 legs. With the legs assembled, putting together the rest of the frame was pretty straightforward. The rest of the frame pieces sat just inside the legs, which will help keep the structure square, minimize racking, and give me a perfect square frame on the bottom to lay the shelf boards on. It will also minimize the number of visible screws, which is really nice. I split a 2x4 and attached it to each long side of the frame. This will be used to attach the top boards to. I used a chamfer bit in my router to put a large chamfer on all the corners of the legs. I don't know, I just thought it might be a nice touch. After a light sanding, I applied a coat of flat black spray paint to the frame with a couple partial cans that I found in the shop. While the stand was drying, I laid out the boards for the top. I didn't have enough boards that were long enough to go the length of the top, so I went widthways. Once the stand was dry, I laid it on top of the top. I know, it seems backwards, but we're working with what we have, remember? Plus, I have a plan.
We'll see.
Remember the 2x4 I split and added to the sides of the frame? I used those to attach the top boards from the underside, so I'll have no visible screws on the work top. The 2 end boards were just sitting on the end frame pieces, so I drilled some 3/8 inch pilot holes, drove in some 3-inch screws, and filled the holes with dowels. Solid as a rock, baby.
Solid.
At this point, I was out of thicker material, so I resorted to using a mix of slats and split pieces for the bottom shelf. I went ahead and screwed them on the top so my neighbor could easily change them out for something nice down the road if he wanted to. After digging around the shop, I found a good sized set of casters. Nothing fancy, but they'll work. The top was far from being flat, so I went to town on it with a hand plane that I borrowed from a friend. After that, I sanded it up to 220, making sure to knock off all the sharp corners. Last but not least, I applied a healthy coat of matte polyurethane to the top, and we are done. All right, the outdoor scrap wood bench is finished, and I gotta say, it didn't come out too bad. Now, despite my best efforts, this top is far from being perfectly flat, but that's okay because my neighbor's intentions is to mainly use this to like work on his lawnmower, maybe to wheel around to work on his raised bed gardens and stuff like that. He's not gonna be doing any precision woodworking, so it doesn't necessarily need to be perfectly flat for what he's using it for. Now we just need to get this over to our neighbor's house. So let's go over the pricing. This was for the most part free because I had every single thing that I used, so I didn't actually have to purchase anything. Even the screws and the glue is stuff that I already had on hand. The casters is an old set of casters from something else that I made. So technically it didn't cost me a dime to make this, but it cost me a ton of time. The amount of time that I spent breaking down pallets and pieces of old projects and then removing nails and trying to resaw stuff on my little table saw, it just ended up being hours and hours. I probably could have built like 4 of these in that amount of time if I just went out and bought the lumber. But if you're just looking for something that you can roll around your workshop and work on extra projects and you happen to have the leftover scraps, or like me, pick up pallets off the side of the road, then heck yeah, spend a day or two and build one of these. It definitely came out well. All in all, if you're on a tight budget and you have the extra time, this is definitely a feasible option, and I would say go ahead and knock yourself out. If you have any suggestions on how we could have gone about this a lot easier, let me know in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching, be safe, and have a great day.